All right, welcome back to Gun Culture Radio. Again, check us out on iTunes if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on iTunes, check it out. Check out the show on YouTube. We're uploading video of the podcast, and we appreciate our sponsor, SDI. They are an online gunsmithing school. They're accredited college, and check them out at sdi.edu. It's a really cool opportunity for any of you guys that are interested in becoming a gunsmith or doing something in the firearms world that you need education for. If you're a veteran, they have GI Bills. That's a great opportunity for vets. And you can work a job and do that on the side since it's an online school. So we appreciate them. But man, what have you been up to lately, Derek?
Not much. Slaving away, slave to money. Yes, yep. I am working away.
Yep.
Hopefully start grad school here this summer. Yes, at last.
Nice. Living the have gun will travel life.
That's right, by God. Yeah. Horses saddle up outside. Please forward your internet calls to this station.
You need to come up with like some kind of little commercial for yourself. Right. Have gun will travel with the 1911 instead of the Colt.
Dude, we'll do like a rifleman. Chuck Connors, I'll fire and fire off 9 rounds and then look into the camera. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's right, baby. That's right.
Yeah. Which is funny,
violence works. Only in some cases. Let me qualify that.
Right.
Thank you.
Exactly. There's a place for everything.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
But it's funny, that's definitely a big political issue, is certain areas where people want to be able to carry their guns at work. Like I know that's been a big deal for truck drivers because some companies won't let them carry their guns, and that's a very obvious situation where you want to take a gun and going across country and parking in certain areas where maybe it's not.
They're concerned about liability. That's strictly a liability issue.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a safety issue. Yes, but it's also a liability issue.
Right.
If you allow your drivers to carry a weapon, you're hoping that the guy's responsible and does the right thing the right way, uses it at the right time. But if he doesn't, that opens up your company to liability.
Right. Which is maybe that's where a lot of the problems come from. Is there so much liability for everything? Why is a company responsible for the actions of one person? But then again, it's tough because I see both sides of it.
Coming strictly from the legal side of it, you're right. Why is the company responsible for this guy's actions? Well, he was an employee of your company when whatever incident happened, and they can try, the defendant can try to hold your company liable, saying that you should have knew he did this, and if he did do it and you did know it, why didn't you know it?
Right.
It could go either way, but you're looking at a lot of cost, a lot of time in court, a lot of stress. Is it worth it? Is it safer just to say, you know what, you can't carry a weapon?
Yeah.
It's just safer not to.
Right. And probably how it goes, I would think, for a lot of the trucking companies is officially they say don't carry a gun, but they probably don't come down real hard on it if they catch them, I would think.
It's like, well, I'm guessing, I don't know.
Yeah, no, truck drivers.
That it's one of those things that if you do it, it's at your own risk. If you do it and you get caught or do the wrong thing, you're done. We are not responsible. We told you not to.
Right. So. Yeah, it's like the guns on school property thing, where that used to be a big deal. I know in Tennessee recently they kind of overturned some of that to where you can have a gun in the parking lot. You can't, of course, bring it into the school, but
in your vehicle, secured.
Right. If it's secured in your vehicle, you're good to go on that. But most schools have policies to where if you're caught with a gun, you get fired. So that's a risk. But at least you're not necessarily breaking a law. It's more of a policy.
Exactly. It's a policy issue. No matter what the state says, the school can have further policies that restrict you from carrying a weapon on their property.
Right.
Well, which will come down to if you're caught with a weapon on their property, you're done.
Right.
But you're not illegal to have it there secured in your vehicle. But if they catch you, with it out, that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the way it goes. I think with a lot of the different professions, it's kind of like it's either going to be against policy or it's sometimes it might be illegal and against policy.
Yep.
Or so if it's just against policy, you're not actually breaking any laws, then you kind of have a decision to make.
Is it worth my job? I'm not breaking the law, but is it worth my job to do this if something goes wrong?
Right, exactly.
In many cases, unfortunately, the outhouse and the penthouse are right next to each other. You can be a hero one minute, and at the same time, you can be done. You can be, so it's very you got to be very careful.
Exactly.
As always, with any weapon.
Now, are you allowed to carry a gun at your job?
Carry? No. Well, which one you're talking about? Depends on which job you're talking about.
No, I was just joking. Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, in armed security, usually they let you carry a gun.
yes. Well, it can't be loaded now. Bullet in my pocket. But,
Yeah, right.
but unfortunately, in a lot of security jobs, law enforcement security, people get kind of, if you carry what you should the way you should, it makes people nervous. What people too often, what people want is like a scarecrow.
Right.
They want somebody up there, you know, hey, look, like this certain place that should remain nameless. This guy, retired officer, stands around with a big yellow vest with police on it. All that's saying is, hey, look, I'm here. Don't come near me.
Yeah.
That's all that's saying. He doesn't really necessarily want to do anything or, you know, have an engagement, which he shouldn't. But at the same time, I think you're telling people, you're hoping people are scared away or bad people are scared away just by the fact that they see that you're an officer.
Because even just a confrontation is bad for that business that you're protecting.
Yes, exactly.
Whether it goes well for you or not. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not necessarily a believer in that. I think what keeps it safe is that people understand that you're willing to do whatever you legally have to.
Yeah, and I agree. I think a balance of that is probably good. You want a little bit of a intimidation factor so that people don't try something. Because if you're every night you're getting into some kind of altercation,
they're like, I'm not going there. Forget that. Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to stop the piano music in the bar, you know,
which will be cool.
Yeah,
which will be cool. But it's about respect out there. You know, certain places you get a broad range of people, a lot of bad guys come in there. But at the same time, if you gain respect to these people, they realize that they can't do their business on your property. And I think it's all about respect. You know, what you do somewhere else is none of my business, but don't bring it here. If you do that, I think you will have a problem. But at the same time, you make it very plain. If I have to go to the mat, I will.
Right.
So it's a balance. You're like a balance.
Yeah, because that's important. It's like those parents that are always yelling at their kids, but their kids are horrible. It's because all they do is yell at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Same thing. But yeah. So back to the point we were making. So if you want to carry a gun at your job, security is definitely one of the.
Well, yes, there are unarmed security jobs,
right?
Which I started out doing that, but the advantage to unarmed security, usually there's like 5 or 6 of you.
There's not as many expectations.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Because just a guy standing there. Okay, yeah. People get a lot braver when they confront you if you're unarmed.
Right.
Security. Oh yeah, I'll fight you. By God, get that liquid courage going. They'll fight you. But
of course, just because you have a gun doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be afraid to mess with you either. That's,
exactly.
Yeah, that was a real education for me when I first got started with that. Do you think, okay, if this gun comes out, like everything stops? No, not at all. They know, they're smart. They know the law. They know you're not going to shoot them.
If they are unarmed, they know. Well, in most cases,
if they're unarmed, yeah, exactly.
Recent events have said that maybe that ain't true. I won't mention any names. But for the most part, if they're unarmed, you won't blast them. They know that.
Right.
But if they're unarmed and not threatening you, then they know that you're not going to blast them.
Right.
But at the same time, I think I'm a big believer that as any kind of armed officer or whatever, you got to give yourself options like chemical spray, baton, taser. Less than lethal, which I'm a big believer in that. That's the stuff they're really afraid of. The thing that needs to scare you, anybody out there that wants to employ a security guy, the minute if he comes across to you, like the first option in his mind is my weapon, that's a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
That should be the last thing he thinks about.
It's really, and it's no different from regular concealed carry in a lot of ways. Yes. It really is no different. It's still your nuclear option.
Exactly. This individual that wanted to work at a certain place in a certain town that should remain nameless. He said, "Oh yeah, I'd like to come out there and do what you do." "Oh, would you?" "Yeah." I says, "Hey man, it can get rough out here. It's just you. You're riding solo. You're Matt Dillon out here, dude."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh hell no. I got my guns." I went, "You're done." I didn't say it to him, but I thought, "You're done.
Yep.
You're done right there." As soon as he said, "I got my gun," that's the first thing popped in his mind.
Yeah.
No, I went right to the business the next day and went, "Do not let him come." Do not let him come out there.
Yeah, so people like that are a liability.
Exactly. And
if you're working that kind of job, you have to work right next to people like that, and you don't always know that they're like that until it's too late.
The time comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if especially if you're by yourself, because unfortunately with a lot of these armed gigs, you end up by yourself somewhere. They say, well, you got a gun. What's the problem? You're by yourself is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, if you got the wrong kind of person who ain't got his mind right, again, they could be an incident.
Yeah.
And a shooting is the last thing you want. Last thing. As a concealed carry permit holder or as a guard, that's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
The only fight you win is the one you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was just thinking, one day one of our listeners is going to drive through a town that's actually called the town that shall remain nameless, and they're going to go, "Wow, a lot of crazy
really exists.
A lot of crazy stuff has happened in this place."
I know where they are now.
I should probably steer clear of this town. That's a dangerous town.
There was a physical altercation a couple of days ago in this certain place. Getting back to weapons are a last option.
Right.
This individual that we both know approached this guy was in violation of policy. He didn't have a shirt on. And in this place, you have to have a shirt, which, you know what? I've never been in a public place and it dawned on me to take my clothes off.
Yeah, me either.
Me neither. It never occurred to me to do that.
No.
But this guy was apparently different. So
But did he have shoes though? Because it's like no shirt, no shoes, no service.
I think so.
Or is it one of each?
Since he only took off his shirt, I think he thought was okay. You know?
Okay.
I'm half in compliance.
Right, okay.
I walked up to the guy and I go, "Hey man, I was courteous, I was kind. Hey, how you doing, sir? You know, hey, look, we got this rule here that guys have to keep your clothes on."
Yeah.
I thought I was being courteous. I asked nicely, "Hey man, could you just put your shirt on?" And he goes,
I know my rights.
No, close. He says, "Why are you harassing me? Why are you harassing me?" Well, start with you got your clothes off. So I didn't say that. No, what I said was, man, they got this rule. You got to put your shirt on. Could you put your shirt on for me? You're harassing me. Okay, no problem, sir. I tell you what, sir. Again, remaining courteous. I says, "Well, sir, look, if you don't put your shirt on, you can't be in here." And he goes, F, that word that I can't pronounce here, this place. I go, "Hey, man, you really need to go." And then he goes, he used a big string of profanities. And he slammed his pool cue down. All right, okay. Spray came out. "Hey, dude, you really need to go." Baton came out. "Hey, man, you really need to go." And then big string of profanities. Call me all kinds of bad names, which I can't pronounce on this family-oriented show.
That's right.
And then he walked out, and I thought he was going to leave. And then he turned around and came back. This guy was about 6'3", about 260. He had a little bit bigger than me, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I thought he was going to leave. And then all of a sudden, he turned around and came back, hit him with the spray.
Yep.
Chemical spray, great stuff, chemical spray. Tried to get him, ordered him to the ground, he wouldn't go. Engaged him with tactical baton. He wanted to fight me some more. I finally got him on the ground, cuffed him up, took him out. Why did all that have to happen?
Yeah.
Why did all that
all I
have
had
to
to do
happen?
was just put his shirt on.
Just put his shirt on. But no. So again, the wrong person would have drew their weapon.
Right.
And then you got a whole nother incident then.
Yeah.
So you got to, as a, again, armed guard or law enforcement, whatever you do, your goal is to keep it at as low a level as possible.
Right.
And de-escalate. That's what you're there for. And you never want to, I don't go looking for trouble, but sometimes trouble finds you.
Right.
But you use the least amount of force possible to gain control of the situation, to enforce order.
Right. And there's no need to get your ego involved into this revenge mentality.
Yeah.
Like you've got to one up this guy.
Yeah.
Like I had a situation, I think I talked about this on the show before, where there was this guy, because it happened several months ago. There was this guy that got really mad at me out on the road. And I was on my motorcycle. Well, because he pulled out in this truck with a big old trailer on it and pulled out like right in front of me. And I had to really just try hard to stop in time to not hit him in the rear, So I was like, okay, at least this guy deserves a middle finger, right? At least.
He earned it. Come on, he earned it.
Yeah, at least. I'm not a hothead or anything.
No, far from it.
I was pretty upset about that. I mean, I'm on a bike. I'm vulnerable, and he pulled out right in front of me in this big truck with a trailer. So I'd speed on by and, shoot him the bird.
Okay.
And I keep going. And then, and I think I told the story before, but I'll tell it again. But anyway, so I'm going down the road, and I'm driving and stuff, and then not too long after that, I look in my mirror and I see him just barreling down after me.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. I was like, all right, and here we go. Mm-hmm. And so he gets up, behind me, and so I was like, okay, I guess he wants on by. So
maybe, I don't know.
So I get over into the right lane. It was like one of those, it was a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
So I get over into the right lane, and he gets up next to me. Uh-oh. And I can sort of tell that he's trying to get my attention. Okay. I intentionally decided, like, okay, the way I'm going to play this is I'm going to just ignore him.
Yes, never make eye contact with him.
I'm just going to say, you know what? Whatever this guy has to say doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just going to work, actually, and just riding down the road. Yeah. I have every legal right to be here. He can get over it, know?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just ignored him, but I was very careful about keeping an eye on how close he was out of the corner of my eye.
Very aware of him, yeah.
Right, because I figured, really, if I'm going to one-up him without trying to escalate the situation, that'd be the best way to do it. Just ignore the guy.
Yeah, don't say anything to him. Let him jump up and down, holler and scream, yeah.
Right, exactly. So he starts getting real close to me and stuff, and he was kind of coming over at me a couple of times and stuff like that, and I just kept my course and just kept going. Mm-hmm. And this went on for a really long time, probably like almost a mile. It seemed like he was trying to get, he'd get in front of me and then just intimidating me, basically.
Trying to.
Right, trying to. And I just kept going. The ironic thing is I had an AK in my backpack. Now, he couldn't really tell that it was because now the barrel was sticking up out of the pack, but it had a sock over it.
Okay, all right.
But still, I was thinking, how funny is this?
You just
like, I have an AK on my back and he's running, pulling all this stuff. So anyway, so I keep going down the road. Finally, he gets bored and and turns off. Yeah, so that was that. So like 2 days ago, I'm riding down the road and I see the exact same truck, the same truck. There's no question about it. It was really distinctive. Parked in parked in a store there. I don't want to get too specific about it, but anyways, I saw it. It was it. There was no question about it. It was the same one. And I was thinking, you had those thoughts like, man, I wish I could get him back for that. But, and I was thinking, you know what? The thing is, someone that stupid and that someone has that little control over their emotions, life is going to do way worse to them than I ever could.
Yeah.
Is the way I looked at it.
Oh, you got to. I mean, what good would it done for you to go in there and get even with this guy? I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, you could have done it, but why?
A little bit of satisfaction for a little while, but then like risk and I mean, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like, what could I do that's not going to put me in jeopardy?
Exactly. And why worry with it? You know what? It happened. It's over. One of the biggest things you can do is just let stuff like that go.
Right.
What you're worried about, if that guy had kept that up and really threatened you, then you would have had a legal right to take action.
Right. Well, my plan was if it had kept going, if it had got to a point where I actually really felt like it was really dangerous. My plan was just to pull over, get off my bike, stick my hand in my pocket on my pistol, and just let him make the move.
See if he stops. Now, if he stops and gets out, then he has a problem.
Right. Exactly.
He has a problem. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You did the right thing the right way, which is good. It's not about what they say, it's about what they do.
Right.
Exactly. I ran into a incident out there not too long ago. Some young guy, of course, 22 years old, of course.
Yep.
Tried to do something he shouldn't have been doing in this area, and I stopped him. And all of a sudden, he starts jumping up and down, yelling and screaming about ARs. I got AR in my car. Oh, you do? You do, huh? All right, do you, huh? And he goes, sits in the car, and the guy won't depart. He won't leave the area. Okay, so I got ARs, AKs, yeah, okay, yeah, muzzle loaders, okay, whatever. It would have been easy to say that guy threatened me and drew down on him.
Right.
But again, it's all about de-escalation. What was that accomplished? One thing we should know, especially because of recent events, they can say anything they want, but until you see a weapon, you don't take any action.
Right.
Very, very important. Let them say what they want. They're going to.
Yeah.
But until you see a weapon, don't even think about drawing yours until you see theirs. Now, I know a lot of people feel like, what I got to do, give them the first shot? Almost. Almost. But legally, from a legal aspect, from a liability aspect, they can say anything they want. They're going to. That BS about, well, he said this and he threatened me. So what?
Yeah. It doesn't. It's just words.
It's just words.
Yeah,
Let him.
Yeah.
Now, if he reaches on that seat, as somebody in that former place we used to work at that tried once.
Oh, man, yeah.
Reach under that seat, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
He says something, then makes a move like he's going to draw something. Now this guy's got a problem. And I do mean they have a problem.
Yeah. So. That was I remember, I guess it's okay to tell that story. That was the closest probably in my life that I ever got to real action, I guess.
Speaking of that, that's another example of people are idiots. This moron had I love saying this, two 1911s pointed at him, and he still wouldn't comply with instructions. What the heck was this guy's problem?
And had a gun, was reaching for it.
Dude.
Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't like one of those deals where, maybe he's reaching for a gun. He had one. I saw it.
He had one. Hey, I got one. Hey, show me your hands. No, I'm not going to do that. You moron.
Yeah.
So, again.
And it was weird. It was a weird experience because I'd never been, an experience like that before because I've never been in the military or anything. And it was like, I remember there was this level of it to where it was like, it felt like normal security stuff. Like, well, we had our guns out and we were, shouting at this guy. There was a point I remember where like, I feel like both of us kind of reached this like plateau to where it's like, oh, this just got real all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It was like, it was serious for a while, but all of a sudden it got super real. And then immediately once it got super real and it was to the point where we were about to do something, then I think he somehow got that.
Realized that he was about to die. So he realized. I mean, look, dude, I blame a lot of that on him because he was a younger guy. And a lot of these people think that nothing can happen to him, which is a mistake.
Yeah.
Anything can happen to anybody, anytime.
Yeah.
And him not complying with instructions almost ended his life right there. And I think maybe this guy realized how close to dying he came, that he was coming.
Yeah.
So again, in fact, what's probably saved him is that he had two people at the level, what's a good word? He had the caliber of personnel he had, putting him at gunpoint because if the wrong people had been out there, he would have been gone.
Yeah, it's very possible.
If the wrong officers had been out there, he would have been gone just from his actions.
Yeah, I mean, he had a gun and he wasn't listening and he was reaching for it.
Exactly. He would have been gone. The wrong officer, he'd been gone.
And people have been shot for much less than that.
Or like
really
Metro. Yeah, I can see that. This Metro agency told me once that they blasted some guy because he pulled a remote at him.
Wow.
Which I'm thinking that guy must have wanted to die.
Yeah.
He jumped out of the truck and pointed the TV remote at him, and they blew him away. I'm like, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
He was trying to change the channel. He was like, cops. I'd rather have bikini babes.
So again, it can go south real quick. Again, it's important you do the right thing the right way, and that comes from you knowing yourself, you knowing the law, and you being confident in your abilities.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only thing that saved a lot of people, as we both know. That saved a lot of people from being dead now.
It really has.
So,
yeah, and it's sad. I mean, bad cops have gotten people killed when they shouldn't have because of poor training or just almost not even because I wasn't really trained. It's just having good decision making skills.
Exactly.
Common sense,
level of maturity. Background. Again, like a similar situation that happened before that. Where the checkpoint, me and this other officer from Southern Tennessee, this multiple felon came up to that checkpoint, which the rules of the property said without identification you can't enter. We let the guy out. It's like my second day on the job.
Yeah, and
we let the guy out. So hey man, you can't go up there. You ain't got no ID. This guy threw a fit, and he jumps out of the car. The guy was he's about 6'6", 280. A giant.
Wow.
And at the time, I was carrying a 9mm Smith & Wesson.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Which I can't believe that now. Looking back, I'm like, what was that? The guy jumps out. I says, get back in the car, sir. Get back in the car, sir. Get back in the car, sir. And I put my hand on my weapon. And he says, that strap ain't going to hurt me. And then my first thought, and thank God I didn't say it. My first thought, thank God I didn't say it. Well, I got 16 chances right here to see if I can hurt you.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, don't say that. Yeah. So the guy in charge says, I tell you what, we'll let him walk up there. You can't drive your car, park your car, and we let the guy walk up there. That seemed to have de-escalated for the moment. So as we stood there, we thought this guy was just entirely too upset over nothing. He knew the rules.
Yeah.
He'd been there before, but he was just entirely too upset.
Intentionally trying to start something.
Something was wrong. So the guy in charge says, hey, go over there and get the VIN number. We're going to run his VIN number, right? Okay. Unfortunately, as I'm getting the VIN number off his car, dude comes walking back down the hill. Sees me doing it. The guy flips out.
Oh, man.
The guy flips out. Raw, starts yelling, speaking profanity, which I can't repeat on this family show. And then he gets back in his car, and we're like, dude, just leave. Just leave. And he's in the car. Me and the other officer turn. We're walking away, and he says, I'll kill you. And then me and this other guy, who's also a veteran, turn, look at each other, put our hands on our weapons, do an about face, walk right up to that car door and say, what did you say? And he just looked at us. There's a little pregnant pause. And then we're like, okay, good. I guess the message got across. This other officer walks one way. I walk the other. As I'm walking away, I get like 5 steps away from the guy. And he says, I'll kill you. And he steps out of the car. I turn around without, like that, turn around, draw down on him, get your you-know-what hands in the you-know-what air right now. This guy who wanted to kill me not 3 seconds ago, now he's like, hey, sir, I'm sorry. Whoa, sir.
Why'd the change of heart?
Sir, what happened? I was this and that, now this and that, not 5 minutes ago. Now, sir.
Yeah.
And he as one thing, again, another reason I'm real big on external safeties, I made sure he saw me take that external safety off. And I'm like, turn around, put your you-know-what hands on top of that you-know-what car right now. And he turns, he does it, he complies, and he looks over at the other officer like he wants him to say something. And the other officer looked at him and smiled and said, hey, man, you better do what he says. He's about to shoot you. So we cuffed him up, called Metro. This guy had 14 felonies.
Wow.
And was facing another 27 years in prison if he violated, which he did. And they sent his butt back to the joint. So you never know. Again, it was a free shot. That guy was a multiple felon. He threatened to kill me, and he took action.
Yeah, you never know who you're dealing with in those situations.
You never know.
You never know if it's an empty threat, some punk kid, or they are a veteran. They've killed people before.
Which this guy, I believe this guy, he assaulted people before.
Yeah.
Now what saved him was that. What almost got him killed was that he voiced a threat, then he stepped out of the vehicle to take action on the threat.
Yeah.
That probably would have been a justified shooting. That's the way the municipal police force put it to me. That would have been a justified shooting.
If he had just kept coming at you, I mean, hey. That's the thing. He said he was going to kill you.
And then got out of the vehicle, came toward me.
And he appears to be trying.
Hey, fortunately for him, he backed off when he did.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to what kind of officer you got too, because a lot of people have seen that as a free kill.
Yeah.
Which again,
that's sad that people look like if they look at it that way in a sense of like they're looking to kill somebody.
Yeah,
or shoot
exactly.
Somebody,
you should never do that. You should never do that. But at the same time, you gotta be willing to use whatever steps necessary to protect yourself and your people, the people around you. And the fact that this guy not only voiced a threat but took action to execute that threat, that was a problem for him.
Right.
But fortunately for him, it was me and not somebody else.
Right.
And he complied to instructions, and then it was over. Once they comply, it's over.
I've always felt like, I've never been in that situation where I had to actually shoot, but I've always felt like you won't have to question whether it's right or not. Your instincts will kind of tell you. And that was the thing about that situation that we were in. It was like there was this really brief period that didn't last for very long because the guy stopped like quickly once it got to that point. But there was this brief period where I actually felt like my instincts were telling me, shoot. If you don't shoot now, like you're going to get shot.
Exactly. Exactly. And people don't, unfortunately, too many people think, oh, they won't shoot me. Or they're beyond. No one's beyond that. No one's above that. If you do something to threaten an individual and that individual feels like his life is in danger, they will shoot you. They will take action. Which again, in that situation we're talking about, this guy was already at gunpoint, non-compliant, with a weapon on him.
Right.
What was he thinking?
Yeah.
What was he? And which that responding force told him the same thing. Dude, anybody else would have shot you.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, he lived to see another day.
Yeah.
And I do recall someone said, call his mama. Yeah, tough guy, gangster. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That was what was dangerous about working in that area was that if we had some kind of altercation with someone, their friends and family were right there too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times.
Which can escalate things, needless to say.
Yeah. One little altercation that I got in that one time, I guess you could call it a fight. I don't know what it was. It was a mess. But I remember at one point I looked up and I was like in a circle of people.
Dude.
and they were all on his side. It's like,
which you never do that, because depending on what frame of mind you could have been in, hey, my life's in danger, I got to defend myself. It would have been very easy to go that route. Yeah. But no, if it had been anybody else but you, fortunately for them, it was you.
Yeah.
Fortunately for them.
Yeah.
Because it would have been easy to justify that.
Right.
That you were in fear of your life. It would have been very easy to justify that.
Yeah.
But fortunately for them, it was you.
Right.
So, and you didn't have the kind of backup that you should have had.
Yeah, and he did. He did bite me in the arm, so. Which hurt really bad, by the way.
What is this? Bite me in the arm.
I know. I know. It was just a Walking Dead or something.
Am I going to turn now? What?
Yeah.
So you got to stay alive out there, and the advantage to security over a municipal police agency is that you don't have the same rules. That same area, a Metro cop got fired on by some disgruntled individual. And what did he do? This municipal officer took off like a rabbit went to go get help, which is, I believe, part of their policy is to do that.
You would take care of things here, and I'll go for help.
We all agreed at the time that if it hadn't been one of us and that individual that fired on us, he wouldn't have been here.
See, in that situation, there's no thinking. It's like, oh, getting shot at, shoot back.
Why even hesitate?
Yeah, there's no question.
But when you're a sworn agency, a municipal force, there's so much liability, so many regulations. People don't realize how regulated the police force is. It's not TV. If you watch TV, there's a gunfight every day. There's a foot pursuit every day. No, it's not that way.
Yeah, that's why you kind of had. I think it's good to stay in touch with your your core primal self. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For when at least just enough to where when that situation happens, you can kind of shed all this laws, systems, culture, all that stuff. It's just danger, tools, weapons.
Exactly.
Fight. I mean, just you can simplify things.
Under the right circumstances, yes. I mean, you got to, because if you hesitate, you're done.
Right.
If the guy does have a weapon and he's willing to use it on you, and you hesitate to defend yourself, you're done. But again, you can't necessarily train for that. It's just an instinctual thing. Again, confidence in yourself, your knowledge of the law, and your abilities will save you, and lack of that will get you killed.
Yeah. Did you ever? Because that, like I said, that experience that we had together was the closest I ever had to that experience. And based on that experience, I kind of gathered, at least, and tell me if this is right or not, that there is a certain point where you almost hit this extra, it's not really necessarily your adrenaline. I mean, my adrenaline was already going long before it got to this point that I'm talking about. It's like you hit this extra little point to where it's like you become something else almost for a second. You know what I mean? Like, is that how it is? Like in the military, you had those instances where it's like things are really dangerous and you kind of hit this like.
There'll come a point when you just know what to do.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I don't think anyone can. I think Patton, he wrote something about it. It's like, situation comes. It has to be a particular set of circumstances now.
Right.
It does. But there'll just come a situation, a time, a place, and a certain set of circumstances, and you'll just know what to do. And I can't explain it. You just will. Like in that situation, if that guy, he came right up to the line.
Because I felt like I was there.
Yeah, you were. You
I
was
felt
right
like
up to
I
the
was
line.
there. But as soon as I got there, that's when he stopped.
Complied.
Yeah.
If he went a quarter, a 16th of an inch further, he would have been gone.
Oh yeah,
been gone.
We were there. I mean, that was,
and that's all it took. But he backed off. Fortunately for him, he backed off.
And us, honestly.
I mean, because you don't want to live with that. It's something that you absolutely do not want to do. You have to live with it. And the only way to live with it is making sure that you do the right thing the right way, and that you met all the criteria for lawful use of deadly force.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can live with that stuff, because if you wrongfully knock off somebody, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Both legally and morally.
Yeah, and that would have been a mess. A bunch of his friends and family members were standing out there and stuff, and we wouldn't have had one witness that would have been objective about it.
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
sounds familiar.
It does.
But that's where the investigation comes in. That's where proper investigative techniques come in. Because people will say anything, and they do all the time.
Yeah.
And people, especially people speaking emotion, which happened at these last couple of situations we've had nationally.
Right.
A lot of people just get caught up emotionally, and they'll say anything that comes in their mind, whether it's true or not.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. They're just they're just verbalizing their emotions.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you have to be aware of that, which is, again, makes it even more important that you do the right thing the right way, because there's always somebody watching, always somebody recording. Like this recent incident, as I took the guy into custody, some other yahoo was yelling, "I got it all on tape." Good. I hope you do. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened at that time that thing I was in. I heard someone say, "Oh, this is gonna be on YouTube," and it never was. It never was.
Whatever. Yeah. I hope it is. I hope it is. And the same person that yelled at me, as soon as the Metro police pulled up, he disappeared. Whoa, dude! Hey, Crusader! What happened? Where'd you run off to? Right. So people get caught up for no reason.
Yeah. Man, while we're in storytelling mode, we got to.
Yeah, what happened? What were we talking about?
We'll get back to that eventually.
I don't know.
Man, I think one of my favorite moments though of when we used to work together was it wasn't necessarily the most intense, but it was one of my favorite ones. Mm-hmm. Was that time that we the guy that jumped off the
the guy that jumped off the third floor.
I know, and I've got that on recording somewhere. I gotta see if I can find that, and I gotta put that up for people to listen to.
All I got to say is proper stretching. Proper stretching.
Yes.
Don't pull your muscle.
But so basically what happened was, so we were just, we were patrolling an apartment complex and we're walking around, and then we see Metro pull up. Yep. And usually when we see Metro, we would at least kind of like, hey, do you want our help? Do you want us to be
in the background somewhere.
Yeah. We wouldn't, get up in their business or anything.
Exactly. Just kind of hang out in case they need extra hands.
Yeah. And most of the time they like that. Yeah. They like just for us to be around, So that's what we did. We just kind of they had a warrant on somebody. Yeah, and they were looking for him. We were able to kind of tell them a little bit about the guy because we knew him and stuff. And so we just kind of followed him up to the apartment. It was the third level,
floor,
third floor. And so we go up the staircase and we go up there. We're standing up there, and they knock on the door, and of course
this old lady shows up with like a towel or something.
Yeah.
And they ask for him, and they're like, I haven't seen him. And she says she was going to put on some clothes.
Yeah.
She didn't say he wasn't there.
She said he wasn't here first, but then they were like, well, why don't you come out and talk to us? She's like, well, she was going to get dressed and then come back out and talk to us. So we're standing there waiting on this, right? Waiting for her to come back out. And we're sitting there just talking and stuff. And then you looked out at the balcony.
I looked down off the balcony and went, man, we are sure high up. I'd hate that to make, and my exact thought was, I'd hate that to make a jump like this.
Yeah.
And then we talk and I hear something and I go, you know what? I know there's no way there's anybody out there on that ledge. No way.
Well, remember you thought you heard something. Remember? And then,
I thought,
and then you were like, oh, I thought he was going to jump. And then we laughed about that for a long time.
Right.
Like just the concept of that happening.
Someone jumping from this high up.
Yeah.
No way.
It was really funny.
And then we heard something again. And
I couldn't really see. I was, let's see, I can explain it. I was kind of looking at the doorway, and you were more towards where the actual balcony was, where the stairwell was.
And I looked out.
And you could actually see it. I couldn't. But.
I looked out, and their dude was hanging by his head, out the third story window, hanging. And I go, whatever his name was, what are you doing? And the guy, again, he's hanging out from the third story window by his hands. And he looks at me and goes, nothing?
Yeah, he goes, I ain't doing nothing.
And then he jumped.
You told him to freeze. Don't forget that part.
And he jumped for it. And the only way I can describe it is like slow motion. So watching the guy jump, and it's like slow motion, hits the ground, gets up, takes off running.
Yeah. And he knocked like a ton of stuff down. Like the gutters were falling and satellite dishes and stuff. So we're like going as fast as we can down the staircase, and all this stuff is falling like around us. I remember.
I take off across the parking lot, and I try to shift into high gear, and all of a sudden my hamstring goes, oh! Yeah. And I want everybody to know the Metro officer and this man ran right past me. Up in the street, prostrate. The other officer jumped in the car and took off. And that's the last I saw them. While they're chasing this felon, I think, I'm done. It's over. I'm done.
You're out of the fight.
And I'm up there by myself, and I thought, and this lady comes out. I thought, oh man, she's gonna finish me off. I'm right here. I'm crawling to the sidewalk. But to her credit, she helped me up. got me out of the street. And after I do the ambulance. And out of embarrassment more than anything else, I went, no, I'm fine. Thank you, ma'am. I'm fine.
Yeah.
There are good people everywhere. I want to make sure I say that.
Yeah.
There are good people everywhere because that lady came out of her apartment and helped this lame guy out of the street.
Well, from my perspective of that, what happened was, so I came down the stairs, and then the Metro guy was in front of me. One of the Metro guys went to the car.
Got in the car and chased him, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other guy, he took off running, and I ran after him, and I passed him. Apparently, he's been eating too many donuts.
Donuts, yeah.
But so I passed him, and I actually was I was chasing him down basically by myself. And he's running and he's looking back at me and he keeps saying that I'm like getting closer and closer, you know. And I'm thinking like, what am I gonna do when I catch him? And then so I'm gaining on him. And then we get down the hill and there's kind of like this grassy area, and he sees that, and then he just kind of plops onto that, and he goes, all right, man. He puts his hands up. He's like,
okay,
we give up. And I can't say what happened after that. It wasn't good, honestly.
I came hobbling down the hill afterwards. Oh my!
Well, I stood there and Metro handled their business. I wouldn't say they handled it in a way that I would have liked to have seen it handled, but
it was handled.
That's how it goes, I guess.
Hey, and so ends another foot pursuit. That was a high moment.
That was fun though. That was a lot of fun.
Great. That's one of those TV moments that actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. So a video of that.
You weren't there for. You got me going. That time that we was at that checkpoint with somebody came over and shopped the place after we were left, and so we was carrying shotguns out there in case these people came back. Me.
I don't think so. I don't think that was me.
Me, another guy that you know, and there were like 4 of us out there, and. These people had these individuals had stolen a car from another project and were coming up.
Oh no, I remember that. No, that was
highway toward where we were.
Yeah,
and we're standing there at this checkpoint, and all of a sudden we see this Impala fishtailing up the road, coming down the hill at us with a Metro vehicle behind them. You know, chasing with lights on. Me and this individual, I pull 245s, come out, and the guy pulls a shotgun, and we draw up on them, and they stop, do a complete 360, whoosh, back up the hill, back out to the main road, and go down the next road. And what we hear next is a big crash because they flipped the car over. 4 of these guys came out, and they came back through the woods back toward us. Apparently, they thought since they left our area, we were just going to back off.
Yeah.
Nope.
You're going to forget about it.
Big mistake. Sorry. After they flipped the car over, they jumped out. The 4 individuals came running toward us. We ran past this tree. I saw one guy hiding behind a tree, put him at gunpoint. Get your you-know-what face on the ground. This other 2 guys that you know, found another guy hiding in the bush, put him at shotgun point. And Metro came and scooped these guys up. I'm like, hey, how about a hand for the security guys? What the hey? You wouldn't have caught these guys if it hadn't been for us, but they're like, all right, get out of the way.
Yeah,
whatever.
I know, it was hit or miss with Metro. Some of them liked us, some of them didn't.
Depends on who you talk to. I mean,
yeah, and it's understandable because some of the people that worked with us, I could see how they wouldn't have put their best face forward to Metro, maybe.
And you got too many, half whatever guys.
Yeah,
not so good guys. Okay, is that a better word?
Not so good guys.
Not so good guys working out there doing security jobs. So
yeah,
but again, times like that made all the boring times worth it.
Yeah, that gave us a lot to like. We probably talked about that for the one that we were in. It gave us something to talk about the rest of the night.
And later on, stuff like that, experiences like that help out. I'm here to tell you when you go up for other jobs.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get on like municipal police forces or state organizations, you talk about that as your experience. It counts. I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
So it's worth all the boring, sitting out in the middle of the dark doing nothing. It's worth it when times like that come up because they pay off down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And those were fun times. I mean, in some ways I miss it, but it was so much liability.
Yeah. No. Other people who weren't out there were worried about liability. The leadership, people who weren't out there doing the job, were all concerned about liability. You know? The same people that were so concerned about that weren't out there.
Right.
So again, it's leadership, like always.
Yeah, it's just but it was fun though while I did it. So definitely, armed security is a cool job. If
you're in the right place, the right people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Which very rarely happens.
Unfortunately.
But that is though something that's hard for for us shooters that want to carry guns, because there's a lot of jobs where you can't have your gun very very easily. Depending on where you work. If you're working at a place with the the security is, of course, if the security is, if you work somewhere that really does have good security, then okay, maybe it's not as big of an issue, like a government building or something like that. If they actually have armed guards, that's the one area. We talk about gun-free zones, and some people will call them free fire zones, and which I agree with that, because when you say gun-free zone, really you just mean that honest people aren't going to have guns there, so the criminals can come there and they don't have anything to worry about. But there are some gun-free zones where if they actually have armed guards there, then okay, I get that, and they're searching everyone that goes into the building. Okay, then relatively, it actually is probably a gun-free zone. Anyone who, a criminal is going to have to shoot his way through, to get in there or something like that. So you actually would be fairly safe in those places, for the most part, But there's a lot of people that like school teachers. That's a tough one, and it's
everybody's not going to be at the same level, and that's the problem I got with say schools having armed teachers, because everybody's not going to be at the same level. Even if you do train them, they're not going to be at the same confidence level, the same ability level. I don't think that's good. The courtesy officers is probably a good idea. It's probably the way to go.
Yeah, I think it probably is. I know in a lot of schools now they have like local police. They try to frequent the schools, try to make their presence known. It makes sense. They're patrolling anyways. Yeah, just stop in for a couple minutes.
Or courtesy officer during certain times of the day. Unfortunately, we do live in that kind of world. I mean, a lot of people don't want to believe that, but I think we do. As far as having officers or carrying officers in your building or school or carrying weapons there, depends on who you're talking about, what level they are, and where you are.
Right.
So it can be a good thing, but within reason.
Right. I really think schools should have Terminators in them.
How about sentry guns? Machine guns sitting there. If you cross this line, it opens up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which they have those, by the way. Thank you. They have those, but they're monitored by humans.
That's good.
Okay, you just can't sit your machine gun out there, and anything that walks in front of it gets mowed down. No, you don't want that.
No, you don't.
That's what that guy that's lost. That's look, my soccer ball went over there. I'm gonna go over there and get it. Bam, gets blown away. No. But they actually have that. For all you Call of Duty guys.
That's one thing that's really growing is robotic technology in warfare. It's just getting, and that's a tricky issue. I can see both sides of it. I can see why people are apprehensive about it, but I can also see the huge benefits of it.
It's cheaper. It's safer for humans anyway. And I think, it's a good idea as long as people got overall control. There's not,
it's not Skynet's going to take over or something.
Let me punch in this code. All of the thing flies off and bombs somewhere and this comes back. What happened? I don't know. I guess it worked out. No. No. Humans. I saw this story once. These guys that fly these Predators, one of the guys that runs the program said that he watched a Predator pilot. The Predator aircraft was actually over a target and was taking anti-aircraft fire. And the guy back in Las Vegas was ducking, watching the screen, ducking, as the flak burst came up.
Yeah.
I guess you get caught up in that. That's the same guy get caught.
Especially because it's real. That's the difference.
I mean,
I've heard that those guys, at first I kind of laughed it off, but I was actually watching a YouTube video about this not too long ago. And some of those drone pilots are actually having PTSD. And here's the thing, like, it sounds silly, but if you think about it, the weird thing is they're not. That's not like they're over in Iraq somewhere. Like they're in whatever, in Arizona or in Nashville,
hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away.
Yeah,
I mean,
and some of those bombs that have the missiles or whatever, they have the cameras on. You actually see people's faces and stuff maybe as you're blowing them up. So you're like killing people. And then you go home to your family at night. I could see how that would maybe. It's not to be compared with someone who's actually been to war and face-to-face combat, but I can see how it would mess with people's heads.
Yes, I can see where you can have some kind of effect from that. But at the same time, I think keep in perspective. I'm going home every night.
Yeah,
I'm not there. I'm not sitting in a tent somewhere or in a ditch. I'm going home every night. Don't forget what you're doing and why. My experience, the way you avoid PTSD is to embrace the experience. It was something I had to do at the time. I wasn't malicious, and there ain't no, I'm not one of these guys sitting around, I'm gonna go over there and do that. No, it's a job. You go do it, you come home. And then once you're done, you're done.
And it's funny you say that, embrace, because that's how you deal with everything. Yeah. Really think about it. That's how you deal with fear and anxiety, all these, negative things.
Yes.
It's like part of the problem that we have with these kinds of issues is we think of getting rid of them. We're like, how can we get rid of them?
No.
We can't get rid of them. They're here. Yes. They exist. They're real. So you just have to embrace it and make it part of your life and work with it instead of trying to get rid of it somehow.
The military had an issue with should these guys that fly the drones get medals?
It depends on what the medal is for. I mean, if they're skilled and they, but
the question was medal for like an air medal, which is for air medal is for courage in aerial flight. You're at a console thousands of miles
eating
away.
Cheetos.
It ain't like you're in the B-17 over Berlin in 1944.
Right.
Those guys deserved air medals or
airburst rounds.
Or flying over Hanoi in 72.
Yeah.
But you're at a console thousands of miles away. Personally, maybe something for achievement. Yes,
right,
but not for courage on the fire because you're not really under fire.
It's not the same. Yeah,
it's not the same.
Yeah,
personally,
really, they should almost people who fly unmanned craft. It should be like a whole different category.
Yeah,
or something. You know what I'm saying? They still get medals and
awards
different things.
And all that recognition. Yeah,
right. But it definitely needs to be recognized that they're not the same as people who are actually out there. It's going both ways.
Like they tried in the Army, they tried to give a lot of guys applied for Purple Hearts that got like heat stroke. I mean, it was an injury and it was in combat.
I mean, what's the requirement for Purple Heart? It has to be like inflicted by the enemy, right?
Fire. I believe. I'm not sure, but I believe it was any kind of injury sustained during combat operations. I believe. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me. But I'm like, well, if I got heat exhaustion during combat operation, do I still get a Purple Heart? It's heat exhaustion.
What about friendly fire? Do you get like if artillery round goes in?
No, you don't. I would have got one. No. No.
Because that kind of sucks. I mean, it's still the same thing.
But if your guy shoots you, does it still count?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it does.
Yeah.
It has to be enemy.
Yeah.
My old man was in World War II. They called the Purple Heart the German marksmanship medal.
That's hilarious.
I mean, hey, Jesus.
That's funny. But robots, though, definitely gives us a lot more opportunities to do things. Warfare, so it's like there's two sides of it. It enables us to, if we do have to go to war with someone, to do it a lot cleaner is another thing, too, I think. Because we can actually fly in there and take out, the actual military. Let's compare it to World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, the carpet bombing, basically.
None of the accuracies we have now.
Right. I mean, they tried to aim, but I mean,
after a while, it became just, we're over the city somewhere, let it go.
Right.
The problem I got with it is that they can sanitize war too much.
That's true.
Because, if people don't feel the pain, they're not going to think it's that bad. We'll just send some Terminators over there and they'll take care of it. But they're killing people, dude. I mean,
and then what happens when this is something I thought about is what happens when two developed nations fight each other and they both have robots, so it's robots fighting against other robots.
Oh my God!
How does that work? So whenever all the robots are destroyed, then do we go back to like a regular war? I mean,
wait. There was an episode in Star Trek about this, wasn't there?
Was there?
The two planets were fighting each other for years, and what they did is they did it mathematically. They would put up a scenario about launching an attack. And according to the mathematics statistics, this many people should have been killed. And then the planets had a treaty that, according to our statistics, our attack killed this many people. And then they would have a lottery. And then if your name got picked, sorry, you just walked into an incinerator.
Wow.
And the idea behind that was if you make it too clean, too sanitized, people will forget about how bad war is.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, something like this could lead to that.
That's true.
I mean, if you make it too clean, nobody has to go anywhere. We'll just sit behind a console, send some Terminators over there. Then people forget how bad war is.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
But the problem is, though, technology is kind of like a big flowing river. I mean, it can't be stopped, really.
Oh my God,
is the thing. I mean, it's robotics technology is the way I kind of look at it. It's probably it's just going to get more and more common. Probably is the thing,
because it's cheaper than having people out there.
Yeah, and more effective. You know, they already have those. It makes a lot of sense for bomb. What do you call it? Bomb neutralization. I guess I don't know. I couldn't think of a better way to say it. But like in the Hurt Locker, they have the little
EOD guy,
things they drive out there.
The whatever it's called that goes out there and disarms the thing.
Yeah.
Again, if you make it things get too technical, people forget about that. I think the last Gulf War. One problem I remember they had was that these TV guided bombs will come down and you see a building, and then all of a sudden you got the camera, seeing the building. All of a sudden, building disappears. The picture goes away. What it doesn't show is the people inside the building.
Yeah.
And again, one criticism Bush took was that they sanitized war.
Right.
And which is why toward the end of the first Gulf War I, up on the highway of death north of Basra or south of Basra, wherever it was, the Air Force went in there and tore them up. As the Iraqis tried to get out of Kuwait. The Air Force went there and tore them up. People were shocked. This is terrible. We got to stop now. And a lot of critics of the military went, "What do you mean? This is terrible. This is the face of battle. What are you talking about? This isn't sanitized. This is the face of battle. What did you expect?"
Yeah.
And when people saw that, they were horrified, which is good.
Yeah.
We can never forget that.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. It's true. If a war got too easy,
it'd be too easy to do it.
Yeah, but then there's the other side of it. Maybe if technology increases to a certain extent, maybe people will be afraid to go to war with each other. Like you have the whole the nuclear stalemate thing where
mutual assured destruction.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So let's say that we have so much technology and so much robot technology and all this kind of stuff to where they can't. It would just be a mess. They're less likely to fight, maybe. Of course, then you have the underdeveloped nations that it's complicated.
Well, I got to argue with that theory because Dr. Gatlin, who made the machine gun, the first Gatlin gun, he thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make this multi-barreled 30 whatever multi-fire weapon. It'll make war so terrible that nobody want to fight. Well, we know how that worked out.
Yeah.
So, same thing with Maxim and the machine gun. It'll be so terrible, nobody want to fight. 2 world wars later.
Yeah. So I know. We always think that the world is going to change right around that next bend. Just like they thought that the telegraph was going to bring on world peace.
Yeah, that worked out.
It did. It worked out perfectly.
Made it easier to fight. My God.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We can't forget how terrible war is, and I think we have to a large extent. And I love this quote I saw. I read it somewhere. Less than 1/4 of 1%. No, 1/8 of 1% of people in the United States right now have ever even been in the military.
Yeah.
And it ain't like World War II, like this last war we just wrapped up, supposedly. It wasn't like World War II where everybody knew somebody that was out there fighting. It was like, only certain people even knew somebody that had been in Iraq or Afghanistan. And the casualties, some guy gets blown away. Unless you're related to him, it really didn't matter. And that stuff I saw on a painting on a bunker in Iraq, it said that the Army's at war. The Army and Marine Corps is at war. America's at the beach. And I had to agree with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we're not rationing gas, Kurt, get to the store, get some bread. There might not be any left because of the war. Nobody's lives were really interrupted. I think, again, the way they sold the war was that they sanitized it.
Right.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah, I agree. That's not. Not. That isn't good, because if they can make the American people feel like it's easy to go to war.
Yeah, or it don't affect me if we go to war with some country to be named later. It's not going to affect me.
Yeah, that's
not good.
Just think if every time we went to war, it meant that anyone who wasn't going into the military for some kind of job was going to have to completely changed what they did.
Stop
just
it.
like World War II, where you had people who made whatever it was. They were making.
You worked in a factory making materials for the war. If you didn't fight, you were doing something to support it.
Right. Exactly. So almost everyone's life was changed in some
everybody
way.
was geared toward that. But at the same time, in the age of nuclear weapons, can you have that? Where a whole country is all fired up about beating this country. We live in an age of nuclear weapons now.
And the population is so much bigger too. And it's so much more diverse now. With like America is just a lot different than it was in the 40s. I mean, there's just so many different schools of thought.
Exactly. There's more opinions now about everybody's flag waving, but not the way they used to be.
Right.
You know, at the same time, with a volunteer army, who's going to go? I think one reason I think that they sanitized the war was that you got a volunteer army. You can't necessarily show the face of battle to a public that you're counting on the volunteer to go fight it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they'll go, what? I'm not going out there. You know, there was a movie called The Man Who Would Be King with Sean Connery and Michael Caine. And it's about these two British soldiers that go up into Afghanistan, strangely enough, to go find this lost kingdom that's full of gold and stuff, and they want to bring it back. And they're training these native people to be their army, and the sergeant, both Sean Connery and Michael Caine are sergeants in the British Army, and they start training these guys. And one quote in that movie that I absolutely never forgot was that Michael Caine said, "Good soldiers don't think, because if they took time to think, they'd never go near the battlefield."
Yeah,
and he's right. Well, forget that. Yeah. So I think again, you can't show a civilian population the true face of battle, because they go, "What are we doing? Stop."
Right. So. I think. Yeah. I mean, that's where we get into problems where people start looking at things being black and white and stuff. I think
it's not. Nothing is.
Nothing is. And I think there's a lot of things out there that there's some things that the government is doing that are really bad that need to be uncovered. No question about it. But I think there's also some things that seem worse than they really are because we don't have all the information.
Yeah. I gotta say this too. I gotta say this. Do we need to know everything the government's doing? Do we need to know?
Yeah, I mean,
you're right.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's hard. I don't know. I mean,
it's tough.
Do I want to know everything they're doing?
I mean, that's the thing. Is the government might have. This is one way I look at it. There might be information that the government has that if they actually told it just straight out, said, "Oh, sure, transparency. We'll tell you." Our minds would be like so incredibly blown.
Like when they keep the aliens out?
No, like way weirder than that. That we wouldn't even like know how to function.
Exactly.
But, like we would just be we just couldn't handle it. Like what if so that's the thing. Think about what if the government knows things like that would just completely just blow our minds.
You know.
Well, you can't just tell people that. They'll either laugh or they'll just like lose it. So, you know, there's two sides of it.
Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black, the first one.
Oh, yeah.
He said that, Will Smith is like, why don't you just tell people about the aliens? Just tell them. People can handle it. He goes, are you kidding? Tommy Lee Jones is like, are you kidding? You kidding? If people knew everything that we were doing, there's always something threatening the earth. There's always an alien around the corner. There's always this. There's always that. And the only way these people could go on with their lives is they don't know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think he was right.
Yeah, I think on some level it makes sense. I think people deserve to know, but I think they almost have to earn it to a certain degree. And it kind of, the system is not totally broken because the people who are capable of handling the information are also probably going to be capable of finding it.
True.
That's another thing too. Is some of that information is out there. It's so if you can handle it, you'll probably be able to find it because it's pretty hard to keep secrets. It's easy
in this world. Yeah,
it's easy to keep things from being mainstream ideas.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Or disinformation.
Right, but it's easy to keep things from just being a generally accepted idea of something, but it's really hard to just completely keep something under wraps. Exactly. Almost impossible.
In this world, no way. Come on, no way.
Yeah, somebody knows, and somebody's going to want to put it out there.
You always got that guy on Facebook. Okay, now don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. But go third, like what was it? That movie Shooter. With,
great movie.
With, what's his name? Mark
Wahlberg, yeah.
When they went to get the knowledge from the guy in Tennessee.
Yeah.
He says, okay, the old guy's like, yeah, there was a guy behind the grassy knoll that shot Kennedy.
Yeah.
They, well, how you know? He says, well, the guys are buried out there. They're buried out in the Mojave Desert. He says, well, how do you know? He says, I got the shovels out back.
Yeah.
It's like a great line.
Yeah. Man, that guy was a great character. He was awesome. What was that dude who was like, he like checked his hand?
I'm still wondering about that. I got to look that one up. But great character. Great character.
Yeah, he was great. He was in this other movie with Tommy Lee Jones it was called Into the Electric Mist. Have you ever heard of it?
You got me on that one.
It's this kind of weird movie, but he played this Civil War general that was like a ghost, right?
Uh-huh.
And like Tommy Lee Jones was like having this like weird. It was like one of those movies that it took place down in Louisiana.
Okay.
And a lot of times those movies are kind of weird, like intentionally, because there's something mystical, I guess, about that whole area down there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. But he would just like appear and just be sitting in a chair next to him, like, and he was like a general, and he would like have this like wise like wisdom to say.
Rocking chair, spot out some wisdom, disappear.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you gotta have a ghost, that's the kind of ghost you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's Casper. For all, sorry for all you old guys out there. You know what I'm talking about. Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sure my age.
No, I watched Casper.
I'm glad you picked up that reference. Thanks. Jesus.
Didn't they did like a Casper movie sometime in the 90s?
Christina, well, we really jumped from conspiracy theory to Casper.
Yeah,
that's a big jump. Yeah. A big jump.
Or maybe it's not.
So, what were we talking about again? I lost track.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, robots.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen this thing?
Go ahead.
Have you seen this thing? There's a bunch of YouTube videos of it where it's like it basically looks like a mechanical cow. Is the best way I know how to describe it. It's got this big body and legs, and it runs.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen that thing?
I think I saw one of these shows, the modern technology. They're trying to sell it to the government as a way,
to transport
a mechanical mule, right?
Yeah.
The Army used to have something like that back in the 60s. It was a wheeled vehicle. It was a motorized platform is what it was back in the 60s.
Oh,
this guy.
I've seen that. I know what you're talking about.
This guy feels like he's going to upgrade that for rough terrain like mountains, like Afghan, by making this mechanical mule that actually walks.
Yeah,
dude,
it's probably loud.
Yeah, they probably have the sound turn way down. And how practical is it? Remember, we got some average Joe out there trying to, they load this thing up, which you're probably going to overload it. Now, follow me up this mountain. Yeah, okay. I don't know how practical it is. I mean, maybe it's really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Mechanical mule, I mean, with 4 legs. Come on.
Well, I just had an idea. What if eventually they have mechanical horses?
That's what I think this is.
It kind of is, but like that you actually ride. I mean,
why not?
If you think about it, you're not necessarily going backwards because there's certain areas and terrains that you just can't really get to unless you're on foot or maybe on a horse.
I don't think the technology's there. Personally,
not yet.
Good idea. But I don't think the technology's there. I think we gotta wait a couple of years.
I guess I won't start working on that then.
Hey, dude, if you do it, and you can make it solar powered too.
Oh yeah,
there you go, dude. Cash in, cha-ching.
Or nuclear powered. That way, if you get overrun, you've got that nuclear option.
Just hit this red button and it goes up. Yeah,
self destruct. Exactly. It'll be it's interesting to follow technology, especially military technology.
Yeah, but a lot of the stuff's out there, really out there, and is it practical?
Yeah.
Like I know they have a sound wave weapon.
Yeah.
That if you get too close to it, the vibrations from the sound wave, it vibrates your internal organs, which causes you to throw up.
Right.
Okay, you got an AK. I got my sound gun. No.
Yeah,
I think you
bullets
got me.
win. Yeah,
I think you got it. Yeah,
and there's also too it's easy to get a little bit too blown away sometimes by some of that technology because whenever you see an article about it or read about it or something like that, it seems so new and just insane.
Bells and whistles.
But in reality, some of that stuff has actually been around a lot longer than we think.
True. But I think I read an article about the American military in the 50s. We knew back then we are never going to be able to totally replace people with technology. We tried.
We wouldn't want to. I think if we could.
I don't think you want to. You're right. I don't think you want to do that. Korea, the Korean War, Vietnam. They tried. They were all built on the technology and all that, but they realized you can never replace people with technology. It's not going to work. You need a combination of both.
It has to be a harmony of the two.
Exactly. All this high speed stuff we got now, it is nothing without good people behind it.
Right.
Nothing. Like weapons. That M4 carbine, great weapon, but unless you got somebody trained how to shoot it, maintain it, it's nothing.
Right. Because the thing is, there's more to what it means to be human than just computing power.
Yes.
That's the thing. They talk about how computers are either to the point now or getting to the point where they're more powerful than the human brain. But I mean, okay,
maybe it's quicker, maybe.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's not all we are. We're not just computers.
Exactly. We're much more complicated than that. And war, I'm here to tell you, is more than just, well, okay, let me put in this program and then we'll see what happens. Okay, the best plans that people make, once that first round goes past your head, that plan's going to crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human intuition, human guts, the courage is something that cannot be replicated as far as we know by any machine. And there's always the unpredictable, which you need a person like with all this all this satellite technology we got now, all these eyes in the sky we got now. There's still no substitute for having a set of human eyes on the ground.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
Yep.
There's no substitute for that. And you can't and we should never want to replace that.
Right.
Now, sometimes it's impractical to have a person there, but if you got the ability to have someone there, you should.
And plus, technology as it improves can make it easier for us to make sure that human involvement
is what it should be.
Like transportation, for example. Mm-hmm. I think that's just like with anything, you have to have a balance. And I think that's, especially with technology, is important.
What you see a lot of with people want to put technology there instead of people. It's all about saving money.
Right.
If I put that machine there, no problem. I just, if I'm tired of it, I turn it off. A person, you can't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
You got to take care of the family. You got to take care of him medically, monetarily, physically. And then what about his family, his kids, medical health? People are expensive.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't beat them as far as having a person there to do the job. Yeah, machines can do it better. Sometimes. Quicker. Sometimes. Are they more reliable? Sometimes.
Yeah.
But again, long run, if it comes down to having a machine doing it and a person, I'll have a person. Yeah. If I have to pick one or the other, I'll pick the person.
All right. It's like in have you seen the movie I, Robot?
Yeah.
You seen that? There's a scene in there where there's like remember he like crashed his car or something like that, and that robot came to save him, and saved him instead of the little girl or whatever, because the percentage of survival was higher or something like that. Like that's a good example of how where a robot would fail, a human would make the better choice in that situation.
Hopefully.
You hope, but they have a better chance to. Yeah.
So again, technology is great, but the problem is, and I said this 1,000 times, technology is great when it works.
Yeah.
When it works. Problem with technology, it does break down.
It does.
Humans do too, but we get too dependent on it. And I think that's, from what I understand, my belief is that's one thing our enemies count on, is that they count on the fact that we're technology dependent. And if they with the Americans, if you defeat their technology, you defeat them.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, technology is good. In fact, I was in Iraq. They thought we were cowards. Relying on our big helicopters and our satellites, hiding behind our technology. Why don't you come out and fight us like men? Screw you.
Yeah.
I'm using it. If I got it, I'm using it.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, historically, wars were largely won by whoever had the best technology in a lot of cases. I mean, if
wars are fought with technology, they're won by men.
It's true. Yeah.
So
it's true. But technology does make a difference. Pretty big difference.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Hey, I wouldn't go to war without it. But we should be able to default back to the old school stuff.
Right.
Like the Russians. They're all about, again, they think that we're too technology dependent, and they're more old school than we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know what goods that done them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough to gauge. But it's like, we were talking earlier before the show about the Henry rifle in the Civil War. That's a situation where the technology could have. I mean, because there weren't enough of them produced by the time the Civil War ended. But for some of those units that had them,
the Indiana and I think it's mostly the Indiana regiments of the Union Army. There were some entire Indiana units that outfitted themselves with Henry rifles, which made them devastating on the battlefield. In fact, the advantage back then, especially, would be you wouldn't need as many guys. The standard issue rifle back then was a Springfield muzzleloader,
right?
But that's why you need a whole bunch of guys, because it was single shot. But you give our guys, you break out that Henry rifle, 13 shots, lever action. Maybe I only need half these. Maybe I only need half as many now.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the reading I've done, the Yankee outfits, which I don't know, I shouldn't call them Yankees. United States soldiers. That the U.S. Army guys that had the technology, the Henry rifles and all that, they were devastating to the Confederates. I mean, they're walking out across open ground against guys who had multi-shot lever action rifles. Dude, turkey shoot.
Yeah.
Turkey shoot.
I mean, that kind of difference in firepower is just astounding when you really think about how long it takes to reload a muzzle loader.
3 shots a minute was the accepted standard. You could get 3 aim shots in a minute versus 13.
Yeah.
In a minute. Dude. The Confederate guys that did capture the Henry rifles from the Yankees, they used them until the ammunition ran out. Then they had to throw them away because the Confederacy could not produce the weapon or the ammunition for it.
Yeah.
So, but devastating weapon. I mean, if I was back then, I'll have a Henry. Thank you very much.
Oh man, yeah.
My God. Oh
yeah. But you got one now, so.
By God, great weapon, great weapon. And I told you when I took it to the range and fired it, there was a Israeli. What's it called?
The Tavor.
Tavor on one side of me and an M4 carbine on the other side. I had these 2 ultra modern space age weapons on each side of me, and I'm firing my mid 19th century lever action rifle. By God, I'll take them on. I'll take them on.
I'll tell you what, man, a lever action can do a lot of damage, even by today's standards. It really can.
It fired very smooth, and again, because I watched too much TV, too many movies, I expected a big, barrel flash, 6 foot of flame, all kinds of smoke. It knocks me back. None of that. Very smooth firing. From what I understand, it's got a lower muzzle velocity, which I'm sure it does have a lower muzzle velocity than a modern weapon, of course.
Well, definitely then, because it's shooting a pistol cartridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And but I think the hitting power is about the same. I think it would be more, wouldn't it?
Well,
the stopping power would be better than a 223, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm sure people would argue both sides of it, but you could almost argue that. I mean, those 250 grain 45s
versus what?
Which
223?
It's like a 45 ACP, a little heftier and faster, probably.
Some of the reading I did said that out of the factory, unless you do your personal load,
right?
But out of the factory, 45 ACP and 45 Colt got about the same hitting power.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Coming out of the factory. Now, if you do your own personal loads, now there's going to be a difference.
Right. Now, the original Henry that was chambered in the 44 Henry, I'm pretty sure that was a pretty anemic round, from what I understand. That was pretty light.
That's why it's obsolete now.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a rimfire, so.
But the velocity is kind of slow because it's 45.
Right.
I told you the joke that the range officer made when I was out there was that with a Henry rifle, you could fire it, put it down, like a cigarette before the round hit the target.
Yeah.
But if you did hit him, he was going down.
Yeah.
If you hit the target, it was going down. So a lot of stopping power, which is good.
Big chunk of lead.
Oh yeah. And I was the rate of fire was not bad. It was not bad. As fast as you could work that lever action, it was not bad.
Yeah.
A little practice, you could be deadly with it.
Yeah, the only drawback with the Henry is just the loading of it compared to the other lever actions.
It's like, stop, okay.
It's a little more involved. Because the cool thing about lever actions is they kind of have that pump shotgun kind of feature to where you can top them off easily. But the Henry, it's not so much. Not as easily.
As far as effective range, if my reading is correct, effective range for the Henry was out to 300 yards, which is about right. About right.
That probably actually, of course, that's probably based on the original cartridge. That the one you have is chambered in 45 long Colt, which they were never chambered in actually.
Okay.
So it might be more than that. The one you have, at least.
I wouldn't engage realistically more than 100 because with them sights, iron sights, with that rifle, 100 yards, 50 really.
I mean, you're not going to put a red dot on it?
Laser. Picatinny reel system. Night sight. Why not? I mean, why not? But I'm thinking if you got skill, that weapon, it was a weapon of its time. You had to be skilled shooter.
Yeah.
But if you were a skilled trained shooter, you were in there. That weapon could do some damage.
Oh man.
We talked about Little Bighorn too, which the Native Americans, a lot of them are armed with Henry rifles and Winchester 66s.
Which isn't it funny how the U.S. government always seems to arm their enemies?
You're right. The government given the Native Americans these weapons to go hunting with.
Yeah.
I mean, dude. I mean, not smart, dude. But I guess hey, and the U.S. Army weapon, cavalry weapon at the time was the 1873 Springfield trapdoor.
Yeah.
52 caliber. Good weapon.
Yeah, really good gun. But what's interesting though is that the government never really got on board with the whole lever action thing. They said, I think their reason was they were probably too expensive to produce, and also you couldn't operate them as well while shooting from prone. But I mean, come on, the capacity and the. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a military guy. So.
I have read that the Ordnance Department for the U.S. Army said that one reason they didn't go with the multi-fire weapons was because it was a waste of ammunition.
Oh, yeah.
They believed in, I give you 20 rounds, you get 20 hits with it, which they're about marksmanship, which I understand that, but there comes a point where rate of fire is going to trump marksmanship.
Right.
As that Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I read another story once that the Army, I got to research this. I'll cite it next time we're on. The Army believed that it should be too expensive. That if it was too expensive, that you just couldn't throw it away. They didn't want it.
Yeah. I
don't know where that reasoning came from, because I guess the people they got, they're like, come on, if it costs that much, we got average guys out here. We don't want to give them a bunch of very expensive weapons.
Yeah.
And
also the government's not famous for putting too much value on human life necessarily. So,
okay, yeah. But back to Little Bighorn, the Springfield 1873 trapdoor was could go at effective range 1,000 yards, 52 caliber, 1,000-yard range, great stopping power, unless you got in close.
Wait, the trapdoor?
The trapdoor.
Usually the 45-70 is what they were.
Okay, but great stopping.
Yeah.
It was
45-70. Yeah.
It was good. It had some good stopping power, better stopping power than the Henry.
Yeah. Because it's a hefty round. That's a buffalo round.
I mean, it was, again, great stopping power, more range. Now, if you got plenty of standoff, that's great. But if they get in close, as we know, it's all about rate of fire then.
Right.
And the Native Americans got in close, used cover concealment, got in close, and then they just overwhelmed them with fire.
Yeah.
So,
the trapdoor wasn't bad. I mean, you could shoot it with a decent rate of fire because the way it was. You ever messed with one before?
You got to learn the workings.
Yeah, they're kind of spring loaded, so it's like you fire it, and then I think you're supposed to half cock it, and then you just pull up on this tab, and it's got a little spring, and it pops open and ejects the round. So it ejects the round out. You grab another round and throw it in there, close it, cock it, and you're ready to shoot. So you could, if you're training, you could do that pretty fast, but not like a lever gun. You can stay on target
and the fact that big round it fired means you couldn't carry that much of it.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that shot the cavalry in the foot too, if you're part of the expression.
Yeah. I'm sure some of them did get shot in the foot, literally.
Is that the Native Americans with higher round capacity, higher rate of fire, once they got within that 1 to 300 yard range, that's about rate of fire now.
And I'm sure they had them beat on hand-to-hand tactics too.
If my reading's correct, the Native Americans had like a special group of Sioux warriors that swore that they'd be the first ones to get to the American cavalry on Custer Hill, or they die trying. Now you got an aggressive enemy coming at you with higher rate of fire and better close range weapons than you got. And by the time they get close enough for your pistols, and we all know if you're down to pistols, you got a problem.
Yeah,
you got a problem. especially your little 6-shot revolver, your single action Army 1868.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Effective range what? 25 yards.
Man, that's got to be a sickening feeling when it gets to the point where you realize like you're one of the last few left alive, and there's still a ton of them.
Oh yeah.
And you're down to your pistol.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just any time now, you're done.
There was a lot of suicides too among the cavalry, the 7th Cavalry, because they realized they're on us.
Yeah,
and you knew what that meant because there was gonna be no mercy.
Yeah,
you knew that. Right weapon, different weapons at that time. Both of you had different uses. They had the Native American weapons again were better, close in, higher rate of fire. If the Army had been at a different position with a lot more distance between them, they could have tore them up. But again, what if, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I mean, who knows?
All right. Well, appreciate you coming on.
No problem, man.
And as usual, we'll do it again, and try to get it. I'll try to have every other show with you on. And
just let me know, man.
And we'll hopefully, hoping sometime we'll be able to get Dad on here. And I'll have all 3 of us. That'd be fun sometime.
There you go. Cool.
But all right, man. We'll talk to you later, and don't forget, guys, to check out the show on iTunes if you're on YouTube, and if you're on iTunes, check it out on YouTube. And we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, see you later.
See
Bye.
ya.